Well, good morning. It's morning here. I hope it's a good morning wherever you are. Today we are going to talk about the tools that you need and a little bit of techniques. We'll probably do 2 parts of this video, maybe 3. As I started going through the tools, I was like, might need 3 parts of this. If you're going to convert a coupe to a fastback Mustang, a coupe Mustang to a fastback Mustang, you're going to need some tools. There's certain specialized tools that'll make your job easier, and there's some that's just essential. And I'm going to walk through those with you. As much as I possibly can, I'm going to try to outline every tool. So if you're thinking about getting ready to do a coupe to fastback Mustang, you're like, what tools do I need to have? This is the video for you. Take note, by the way, every single tool that I will go over, for the most part, will have a link in the description. It's going to be so easy for you to go click, 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 and pick up those tools. But it's tools and techniques. That's today. That's today when we talk about converting our coupe to a fastback Mustang. Okay, so here we are. We're going to be walking through all the tools, a little bit of techniques, all the tools for you to do your Mustang stuff. Let me grab my coffee. Everything's better with a cup of coffee, you know what I'm saying? So what I'm gonna do with you is I'm gonna walk you through, I've got a lot of tools. I thought of a lot of ways that I could video this. I put you up a little higher. I hope that doesn't feel weird. But together, you and I are gonna walk through these tools. Let me say this. There's a really good chance you need less tools than what you probably already think to be able to do this. Now, I'm not going to go through basic hand tools and stuff like that. I'm just going to walk you through the tools that you probably need that are pretty specific to doing the conversion, and I'm hoping I can get all this done in one video. So without any further ado, let's jump into this matter. First of all, let's start with safety. I believe, without a doubt, you need some safety stuff. Clear glasses, goes without saying. I use a respirator. This is a 3M 2297 is the filters for this. This is the best one by far that I've ever used. It's one you can put on your face. You can move the handle and it drops down, and you tighten the handle back up and it pulls up tight on your face. I don't like wearing these anyway. This is an absolute game changer. Used to have sinus infections, and I'd be, after grinding for a day or eating off paint, my sinuses would be messed up. I'd have a chest cold or whatever. All went away when I started using this. Should have done it for years. I was dumb. I should have done it. Should have done it, but I didn't. Gloves, I'm going to save you some money. If your gloves look cool, they make your hands look like RoboCop or whatever, don't use them. Look at these. Don't buy them. They're not worth the crap. You save your money. Look right here. Look at the holes in this thing. That was from day one with these gloves. These are hardy, they say. Hardy, hardy. They're not hardy. Not hardy at all. Look at the holes. All these gloves ain't worth the crap. You could use cloth gloves, be about as good as these are. I wouldn't use these. If I'm you, and if you're me, I would use regular cowhide leather gloves. The ones you buy at the hardware store or whatever. Nothing you have will stand up to, these are older, will stand up to sheet metal work, and the kind of work we do on these Mustangs won't stand up to them for long, but these by far are better. You can weld with these. They work really good. Use these in conjunction with these sleeves. These are from Harbor Freight. You slide these sleeves on, and when you're grinding or whatever, it keeps from burning your arms and what have you. How cool is that? Yes, sir. Boom. That means I can wear a t-shirt during the summer, and it's cool. There's that. I bought a good pair of gel knee pads. I'm always on my knees. I'm too fat for that. My knees were not designed to hold at this level of body. In fact, when I'm on my knees sometimes scream out, one at a time, please, one at a time. And anyway, it's what it is. So gel knee pads. I wear a welding hat when I weld. Stuff pops into my hair, catches my head on fire. I don't like it. Makes my head burn. I'm not excited about that. So that's kind of the safety equipment that you're going to need. Let me give you some other stuff. You're going to need a good tape measure. I know it goes without saying. I've got the one, this is a DeWalt, and it's not because I love DeWalt, but these are actually really good tape measures, pretty heavy duty. It's got the increments on it, smaller fractions. You're going to need that. I compare converting a coupe Mustang to a fastback Mustang to wood construction more than I do mechanics. Most of my life, most of the work I've done has been motor, transmission, rear end, making stuff go fast. This is not like that. It's very different. A lot of measurements, it's a lot of construction stuff. For me, I can't see very well. This is a fabulous light. I'm going to tell you that on the front end. This is a Harbor Freight light. It's rechargeable. I bought this other one This one, I've got 2 of these. They're terrible. They eat batteries up faster. You can put them in there and you're constantly putting batteries. This is rechargeable, twice as bright. This is one bright son of a gun. And it has 2 different settings for this. So that, and that, and then it's got that. I never use that or the dim one. It's always on full blast. This is what I use it for. But it does move. It has a magnet on it and it's rechargeable. This sucker is nice. It's a great light, great light. So you're gonna need, when it comes down to getting the body off of your Mustang, you're gonna need a drill. You're gonna be drilling out a bunch of spot welds. There's a lot of different varieties of drills out there. There's these are called impact drills. These are great. The problem with these is that they have a hexagon end, and that's the only bit that can work on them, is have to have a hexagon. Now in your regular drills, like these, you can put all kinds of stuff in them. You know, regular drill bits, you can put an angled, you know, adapter, you can do all kinds of stuff. If you only have one drill, you can only have one, I would get this. I would have that. If you could have more than one, I would get an impact and I would get this, okay? What brand would I buy? I would buy DeWalt. Now, why do I buy DeWalt? Not because DeWalt is sponsoring me in any way. I'd buy DeWalt because I've discovered that DeWalt are super tough. I'll show you a drill. This is the first cordless DeWalt drill that I ever bought. It's an 18-volt DeWalt. This side looks pretty good, but I want you to look at this side. Two-face. That drill was in a house fire. My house burned. It was in a house fire 15, 16 years ago. It sat in a puddle of water for about 4 days underneath rubble. And this is what it came out like. Obviously, it's been near the fire itself. It's got stuff inside there. You can see it. It sat in that water. This is a battery that was on it. That's why I like DeWalt. Super tough. DeWalt, you should sponsor me. So there's that. But you're going to need a good drill, and the reason is that your Mustang has been built where 2 panels of metal were clamped together by what's called a pinch welder, pinched together, and they were welded in one spot. Psst, and then the pinch welder go a little further and go psst, and psst, until those 2 panels had pinch welds all the way down them, holding them together. Those pinch welds are what you have to get rid of when you're going to take this body off of your Mustang. And how are you going to do that? Well, you're going to do it with a trusty old drill. This, my friends, this is a pinch weld or a spot weld cutter. It has a cutter head on it. It has this pin in the end, which by the way is on a spring. Let's see if I can show it to you. It goes in. So you drill partially through the metal with a small drill bit. That pin, this is in your drill now, that pin will find its way into that pilot hole that you've drilled, not all the way through, but you've drilled into it. It's got a point on it. It's going to find itself and index itself based on that, and you're going to use this to drill in, and it's going to cut through the outer layer of the metal, not affecting the inner layer, so that those 2 parts can be separated. All right? Does that make sense? I feel like my thing's not focusing. Am I focused? Let me look at this. It feels like it ain't focused. Doesn't look like it's focused. Are you focused? You're focused. Anyway, so that is a spot weld cutter. You're going to need that. You're going to have a good drill to do it. So the question might come in for some of you who you know, maybe your skills or your shop supplies are limited. Say, what drill should I get? Get a good cordless one if I were you. The batteries on the DeWalt work a lot better than the batteries do on the Harbor Freight. But if you bought a Harbor Freight, now this is an impact drill. If you bought a Harbor Freight drill, let's say you bought the Bauer or one of their others, at Harbor Freight, buy the bigger batteries. You can use the smaller batteries on the DeWalt, but you have to use the bigger batteries on the Harbor Freight because the batteries aren't as good. The weak link for most of those less than top name brand cordless items, the real issue has to do with the battery quality. Battery quality is not very high on the Bauer. I use the Bauer, but it's not very high. Now, let's talk about what other cutting tool you need. You're going to need what's called an angle grinder. And an angle grinder can have a grinding bit, it can have a flapper bit, or it can have a cutoff wheel like this one has, and you change these out while you're working. You can change them out. You can put a flapper disc on here, you can put a grinding disc on here, you can put a cutoff wheel on here. This one is a corded one. This one is 35, maybe 40 years old. It cuts like a champ. I love it because it has a trigger I like that about this one. I use this one all the time. I did buy a Bauer Harbor Freight cutoff wheel, and I use it as well. Sometimes you'll see, like I have here, I'll have a cutoff wheel in this one, and I'll have a grinding wheel in this one, or I'll have a flapper disc in this one, and I'll have a cutoff wheel in this one, or whatever. Vice versa. I use both of them. The cordless ones eat batteries up. So when if you buy one of these and you buy a cheaper one like the Harbor Freight, buy a big battery. So you're going to have some money in it if you do it that way. These tools use a lot of amperage, so you're going to want the bigger batteries or they're not going to last very long at all. If I could only, can you do this with just one? Do you need two of these? No, you can do it with just one. You just have to be changing the bit back and forth. If I only had one, I would most likely buy the corded one because you're going to know that it's always going to work. These have more torque and more power. Even the cheap corded ones have more power a lot of times than the cordless ones. So you're going to have that. I'm going to recommend something. Well, let me show you this. Let me show you the manual one first. This is called a panel separator. Now you can't see this on mine, but my panel separator, I've used a flapper disc and I've made mine single bevel. When you first get this, it has an end on it that's a double bevel chisel type end. What I did with mine is I ground down one side to where one side is flat and the other side has a chisel edge. So my bit on that panel separator is like that. It's not like this. That's how it comes factory. It's like that. I ground mine where it's like this. The reason is that, again, you have these two panels. This is the backing panel. Like say it's the structure of your Mustang. This is the outer body panel that you've got to get off of it. You don't want to tear this inner panel up. So when you take this bit and you grind one side and leave one side flat, when you drive it down through there, when you're separating those panels, you have less of a risk of tearing up this panel, which you need to be really good, have less of a risk of it being torn up and when you're trying to get this panel off of it. So this is a fantastic tool. I would recommend it. I've got a link in the description. You're going to need one. Modify it as you want to. I had one that I'd already modified and done a bunch of stuff to, but I think it fell out of my car and I think I lost it. Story of my life. So there's that. There's that. Now, in addition to that, I'm going to recommend, if you have an air compressor and you're going to need one, I'm going to recommend an air hammer. This is an old air hammer. It's JCPenney. I thought JCPenney sold clothes, but evidently they made air hammers at one time. Go figure. Anyway, this is an air hammer. It doesn't have the cool, quick disconnect. It doesn't have the horsepower of these big air hammers, which I like better because a lot of times this stuff we're doing is finesse. It's not, it's this hammer is older than we are. I keep it oiled and I use it all the time. It's a great hammer. Variety of bits. I have a particular bit that I'm not going to show you yet because I'm going to release it a little bit later, but I have a bit for separating panels and spot welds that has my own design on it. And it is going to make your life so much easier when you start removing that body with an air hammer off of your Mustang when you're getting ready to convert it. So just stay tuned. I'll do a video about it a little bit later, but I'm going to offer those and you're going to have an opportunity to buy those. It is a custom bit panel separator that's made specifically for an air hammer, and I promise you it's going to make your life so much easier. Something else I think you're going to need a Sawzall. Doesn't have to be cordless, could be corded. It's up to you. You pick out what tool you want, but you'll need a Sawzall. This one's got the long blade on it, but you're going to use a variety of blades with it. When you're cutting that body off, there's certain weird spots you have to get into. This sucker, it does the trick. And I'm going to show you one more thing that I'm going to tell you right now. You're going to, this thing is better than sliced bread, all right? I used one of these, a buddy of mine had one of these, and I borrowed it. Let me plug this in, hold on. This is what's known as, it is a mini belt sander. Y'all look at that thing. Is that not the coolest thing you've ever seen? Look at that, would you? Now, I had a buddy of mine that was helping me with my car at one point, had one of these that was air. I'd never seen one before in my life. I was like, what is that? And he's like, it's a mini belt sander. He said, it will change your life. I was like, no way. He's like, oh yeah, way. And it did. It was incredible. Now here's what's bad. My little air compressor could not in any way keep up with the CFM requirement of an air one of these. So I started looking and I found this one. This one is made by WEN, Ween, I don't know. Whatever the name, it's this. Yeah. So it's made by them. Link is in the description if you want the one I've got. I can't testify to how good this one is yet or not, but I'm going to use it. I'm going to run it. I'm going to grind stuff with it, and I'm going to see what happens. But listen. Huh? Even turns up, listen. Woo-wee! That dude's got a big block with nitrous on it. So anyway, this is super helpful. When you cut out those plug wells and you remove that body panel, you have a piece of metal left. This thing is like a sniper rifle. You go in there and it takes them right off. It's unbelievable. I've not used the electric one yet. I used an air one. My air compressor's not big enough for that. This was $35, maybe $37. I'll put a link in the description. You should get one. These things are awesome. I can't testify to it enough how much you're going to want that. There's a variety of other tools that you're going to need to get the body off of your Mustang. But what I've gone over is the essential things that you're going to need. I don't think you're going to need anything more than that. You may need some simple hand tools and stuff that you're going to have to come up with. But that's basically it for getting the body off of your Mustang. I'm going to do a video that we're going to focus on the techniques, spot weld drilling, panel separation, cutting the body off. I'm going to do some videos on that, but I'm going to do that just a pinch later. And I'm going to go through the part 2 of this video. I want to go through the tools that you're going to need when you get ready to put the body back onto your Mustang. I'm going to talk to you about those things because I have some of those lined up right here, but I don't want to talk about those yet. But I feel like I've given you the essential tools that you're going to need to get the body off of your Mustang. I think I need to do a video also of the things you're going to need when it comes time to lift your car off the ground, set it up where it's stable, where you can do the cutting work on it. But anyway, this is probably enough for this particular video. These are the tools that you're going to need. Cordless or corded? Man, that's the question, and it's really, really up to you. But I would say this. I would say you got to get a couple of few tools, and it's going to make your life a lot easier. But I think we've gone over everything that you're going to need to take the body off of the car.